The following is a paid program by Gary C. Johnson, attorney at law. Welcome to Simply the Law, the program that gives you free legal information, brought to you by the law office of Gary C. Johnson. Good evening, everyone. Welcome in to Simply the Law. I've got some breaking news for you tonight. I'm Keith Casebolt, and this is Gary C. Johnson, my friend.
Great to be here.
Here's the breaking news. Don't worry about anything in the world, because Gary and I, on the trip over, solved all the problems in the world, including the election, world peace, everything.
And the sad part about it is, no one was listening.
And we didn't write it down.
And we forgot what the solution was. Just goes to show you. Thank you, folks, for having us. Thank you so much for letting us come and visit with you in your home. We wouldn't be able to have a program if you didn't. And hopefully we will be able to give you something back for you giving us some of your time. Hopefully we'll give you some information that may be of some benefit as you go through life concerning the law. And maybe even more important, we can give you some tidbits and thoughts of the way we've lived or tried to live our lives, and some of the things maybe we've learned along the way that may make it easier for you. I know sometime back, I guess it's months and months ago, that I on the program talked in terms of joy and sorrow from the book by Khalil Gibran, and the book's name was it was actually called The Prophet. And in that book he stated that you should be happy with your sorrow when you've lost a loved one, that you should rejoice in the depth of your sorrow, because your depth of your sorrow is exactly equal to the joy you had because the person was in your life. And a lady walked up to me about a week ago and said, I just want you to know that helped me. That helped me through a hard time when I heard that, because I then understood that, yes, my sorrow was equal to the joy that I had, and that I should really be happy that I was feeling that level of sorrow rather than the way I was feeling. And it helped me through a bad time. So I was going to pass that on to you again tonight, in case some of you may have not been with that program, and you may be in that situation now. You might get some benefit out of it, and maybe it'll give you a little bit of ease in knowing that your sorrow is exactly equal to the amount of joy that you had. And if you'd never had the joy, you would not be having the sorrow. But enough said on that. I just wanted to pass that on to you before we get started on this program tonight. Tonight we're going to talk about some of the things that I talk to other attorneys about when I'm going across the country and speaking at seminars. And it's some simple stuff that everyone needs to know. And if any attorneys are watching the program tonight, stay tuned in. You may get a little bit of information that may be of some benefit to you as you're trying to represent your clients. The rest of you just hang around with us. I hope we make it an interesting show for you and something that is of some benefit to you, and that you said, okay, it was good. I spent some time with Gary and Keith, and it turned out okay for me. We will go to the computer now, and I will start talking to you about some of the things that's important. There's our numbers in case you need to call us and text us. Naturally, we have an app that you can download by simply going to my webpage, if you want it, for your phone, that tells you what to do in regard to if you're in a car wreck. In general, make sure you have your underinsurance that protects you and your family. And folks, I'm still seeing people come in my office that do not have their underinsurance that could afford it. And they'll say, I heard you talk about that on TV, but I just never got around to it. And then I look at them and I say, uh-oh.
Gary, I got to say, we've got a good friend, and we're not going to name our good friend, that has been with us on this program, or knows about the program, has watched the program, and still people think it's never going to happen to them. And anytime I've asked anybody, Gary's been on the radio, he's been on the television, he's begged you to get the underinsurance. Why didn't you get it? Still, I have people say, I didn't expect it to happen to me.
This fellow he's talking about was initially, when I first started talking about it years ago, there when I started talking about it. And he gets out and somebody plows into him and causes him all kinds of harm. And he comes to see me and I look at his policy and I said, where's your underinsurance? And he gets a sheepish look on his face.
Because he knows better.
He knew better and he could afford it. So folks, if you can afford it, make sure you have underinsurance that protects you and your family. It's very, very important. Because anymore, people either don't have insurance that hits you or they're underinsured. They only have the minimum policies.
Gary, I mean, is that a point when you said if you can afford it, is the truth of the matter you almost can't afford not to have it? I mean, because what you just stated, the person that's going to run into you is not going to be driving a company vehicle. They're not going to have $1 million insurance. It's going to be someone who probably just canceled their insurance, has zero insurance, and probably shouldn't be on the highways. That's going to be the person that rear-ends you.
What I said is exactly what I meant, if you can afford it.
I understand.
Because if you have a fixed income to the point to where $10 or $15 or $20 or $30 makes a difference in you balancing your budget that month, then you may be one of those folks that can't afford it. If you can afford it, you need to have underinsurance. And I see folks come through my office, and when they tell me they couldn't afford their underinsurance, I understand. The ones of you that I'm talking to are the ones that another $20 or $15 a month isn't going to break you. But if you don't have your underinsurance, you could get broke. That's who I'm talking to. But the rest of you, if you can't afford, there's a lot of things in life we would all love to have if we could afford it. And in this economy and the facts of life, it's hard. It's hard out there. So what you end up having to do is make sure you have your seatbelt on, make sure you don't break the law in any way, don't speed or anything, drive defensively, realize that other person may be getting ready to run over you. Try to stay off the roads at night. And when I say that, there's been statistics that shows that after 11 o'clock at night, a third of the people on the highway are impaired. So there's things that you may have to do to try to protect yourself if you can't afford underinsurance. And one of them is probably trying to stay off of the roads at night if you can. Let's go back to computer. No, let's take a break, then we'll go back to computer, okay?
You're making some great points. Maybe one of the things that you might be able to do is look at your budget and see if there is a place to find the money for underinsurance. But Gary made a great point on that. We'll be back more Simply the Law with Gary C. Johnson right after this.
Simply the Law with Gary C. Johnson. We'll be back in just a moment.
I'm Gary C. Johnson. If you've been hurt in a wreck, you need a talented team to help you put your life back together. For more on the talented team we have put together, go to GaryCJohnson.com and click on Attorney Profiles.
Call the law office of Gary C. Johnson at 1-800-337-4002.
At the Gary C. Johnson Law Firm, we make our living helping people put their lives back together. We want to represent you. Give us a call.
Welcome back to Simply the Law. We've got more to get to tonight. Interesting program.
And let's do it. Computer.
Pretty good magic you did there.
Arbitration. Again, I keep saying this every week because it's so important. Never sign a document agreeing that any dispute will be settled by arbitration. You'll find those clauses when you're starting to go into a nursing home now, coal leases, hospital admissions, and so forth. Take that piece of paper that says arbitration and put it off to the side. You don't have to sign it because I'm promising you, and this is a promise, that no matter what happens to you, if you sign that arbitration agreement, you have no remedy. You You are totally at the mercy of the people that's had you sign that agreement. Enough said. Don't sign it. Now, we were talking about things. Perception. You are a greedy lawyer. Your client is there to stiff the system. Attorneys, this is a fact. That is the public perception.
So you're saying right now, if you stopped 100 people on the street and you asked them those questions, that the majority of the people would say attorneys are greedy and you're there to try to take advantage of the system?
That is the public perception of our profession as far as plaintiff's attorney is concerned. Now, we can try to pretend it's not. We can try to pretend and say, oh, no, it's not really that way. Perception. Your perception of us, generally, is that we're greedy lawyers and that our clients are trying to stiff the system and get something for nothing when they file a lawsuit. And that's the perception.
Gary, we do that without consciously thinking about it, don't we?
It's a fact.
I mean, let's think right at the beginning of this program. I made a statement, you can't afford not to have underinsurance. You stopped me and said, wait a minute. For some people, that $25 or $30 could be the difference in putting food on the table.
That's exactly right.
And even during the break, you said, you've got to realize that's your perception that everybody can afford it, but not everybody can.
Let's go back to the computer. I want to talk to you just a little bit more about this. The reality. Now, this is reality. You are their only hope to preserve our justice system, our attorneys. This is what I'm teaching attorneys across the country. And I say to them, you are the perception is you're a greedy lawyer, but in reality you are their only hope to preserve our justice system. And the reality is the insurance companies stiff the system daily trying to get something for nothing. Now that's the reality.
But I got a big question for you here. If this is the reality, then why is the perception so much more believable than the reality?
Because millions and millions and millions and billions of dollars has been spent on propaganda in this country, taking a case that they could use and using it as a poster child to try to make the public believe that the enemy is the bar, the plaintiff's lawyers that make their living representing people that's been harmed through negligence of either a corporation, hospital, doctor, another driver. You know, that's all we do. Our job is we represent people that have been harmed because someone else broke the safety rules. Now, if they can get you, the general public, to believe that we are the enemy, that we are the bad guys because we're trying to hold them accountable for the harm they did to innocent people, then they get a free ride. And it's cheaper to spend the money creating a perception than it is paying to be accountable for the deeds that they do and the rules that they break. And all I'm asking you folks to do is think. Think. Right here. Where would we be in this nation if you couldn't go find a lawyer to take your lawsuit when you had been harmed by a corporation? Think about it. Why do you think they are so adamant on tort reform? They're adamant on tort reform and pushing it so that they can get to the point to where lawyers like me won't take the case because you can't make a living doing it. That's the facts. And they call it caps, they call it everything in the world, they call it, oh, it's just good business, we're running business off, we're running this off. The bottom line is they're saying, we'll make you safe. You can depend on us to make you safe. You don't have to worry about those old lawyers. You don't need them. We'll take care of you. And if that ever happens in this nation, no one will be safe anywhere. period. Right now, a jury can hold people accountable. A jury. We don't render verdicts. We only tattletale. We only put it in front of a jury and say, here, what are you going to do about it? These people broke the rules and this person's hurt. The jury, they don't get anything out of it. They don't even get enough money to buy their lunch. But it's the system that we have, and it's a system that works. So if you're on a jury duty, and you've ever been on a jury duty, be proud. Because you're part of the greatest system that's ever been designed by man, and Thomas Jefferson was the daddy of it. The American system of justice. It's under a direct attack by corporate America. And I'm afraid they may be winning. We're going to take a break and we're going to come back. I got some more stuff on the computer that I need to talk to you about.
You know, it makes me more thankful that you're watching tonight, because with this perception, I now realize that most of our friends that are watching this program unfortunately believe that it's because of lawyers that their insurance is too high,
That's right.
that their premium's too high. So thank you for tuning in, and thank you for thinking and being open-minded. We'll be back. More Gary C. Johnson, Simply the Law, right after this. Simply the Law with Gary C. Johnson will be back in just a moment.
I'm Gary C. Johnson. If you've been hurt in a wreck, you need a talented team to help you put your life back together. For more on the talented team we have put together, go to GaryCJohnson.com and click on Attorney Profiles.
Call the law office of Gary C. Johnson at 1-800-337-4002.
At the Gary C. Johnson Law Firm, we make our living helping people put their lives back together. We want to represent you. Give us a call.
You know, I'm sitting here the whole time thinking about this reality and perception. You know, I'm thinking, you've got me back exercising now. The reality is you have to go to the gym, you have to exercise, you have to watch what you eat, you have to drink more water. I know that. That's the reality. But the big perception, which is a multi-billion-dollar industry, is that you can take a pill for it and it all goes away. I mean, the perception is so much more, what's the word I'm looking for, believable. You just seem to take it better than you do reality. And when you're doing this scenario of what the reality is and what the perception is, it's easy to see why people grab on to the grandstanding of what the perception is.
The reality of my weight loss program for the last 25 years has been, I mouth it.
Yeah.
That's the reality.
Yeah.
I tell it. And my perception of myself is pretty bad because of that. But this year is going to be the last year that I ever be in that position. I've done great so far this year. I'm getting off all my excess weight. I'm actually exercising. And I know, and it took a while.
And you've got people at the grocery store watching me.
That's right. And it took a while to get there, but I can tell you right now, I feel better right now than I felt probably in the last 20 years. And it's all because my New Year's resolution at the first of the year was not to be obese. You know, like my medical records, I've said to so many people when I looked at it from my last physical, said, pleasant, white, obese male. You talk about bringing you on. So when I get my report this year, it will not say that. It may say irritable, skinny man. But it won't say pleasant.
Unhappy and irritable.
Irritable man, but it won't say the other thing.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Okay, let's go back to the computer. I got to talk to you folks about some things. In general, and I'm telling lawyers this, clients seek you out because they've been harmed, and they wouldn't be there if they had a choice. And I don't know how many times I have to tell attorneys, clients don't come to me because they want to. They have no choice. And then I say to them, you become their advocate. It is your job to try to set what happened to them right. And there's three things you absolutely have to believe with all of your heart before you can truly represent your client. The first one is you must believe in the client. You must believe in their case. You must believe that they have the injury, that they really and truly are hurt. And most important of all, more important than all of those others, you must believe in the system. You must believe that the system will work. And then if you want to really add another one to it, most of all, you must trust the jury.
You know, Gary, when I met you and started doing the radio program with you about 13 years ago, the first program I think that I did with you on the radio, you got on the air and you said, absolutely, if you're not injured, don't ever come to see me, because I'll be the first person that throws you out. It won't ever make it to a jury to throw you out, but I'll throw you out. And you were adamant about that from the first day that I ever met you.
One case that gets through the system where a person truly isn't injured causes immense harm to thousands of people that are injured. And if attorneys are watching this, I say to you, if your client doesn't have an injury, advise them to get out of the system before it ever comes to the point to where a jury has to tell them they don't get anything. It hurts everyone. The people that are hurt the most by a lawsuit that has no injuries are the people that truly have injuries, because that goes over onto them.
Yeah, let me ask you about that. How does that work? Because the perception then comes down to the jury that they're looking for this, or?
Well, let me give you an example. A jury will be serving maybe for 2 or 3 months, the same panel. Let's assume that the first case tried in front of that jury is a case where the client had no injury. That jury is then going to be extremely skeptical of any other case that comes before it during that term. And they should be. And that's what I'm saying. The people that are harmed the most by a frivolous lawsuit or by a case where a person files it that truly is lied to everyone and has no injury is the people that are really hurt and the people that really need to have access to the system. So it's harmful. So that's what I'm saying. If there's any attorneys watching this and you have a client that you really suspect they don't have an injury, confront them with it. Let's take a break and we'll be right back.
Got a question for Gary when we come back that I'm going to ask, and you'll want to hear the answer, so stay with us. More with Gary C. Johnson, Simply the Law, right after this. Simply the Law with Gary C. Johnson. We'll be back in just a moment.
I'm Gary C. Johnson. If you've been hurt in a wreck, you need a talented team to help you put your life back together. For more on the talented team we have put together, go to GaryCJohnson.com and click on Attorney Profiles.
Call the law office of Gary C. Johnson at 1-800-337-4002.
At the Gary C. Johnson Law Firm, we make our living helping people put their lives back together. We want to represent you. Give us a call.
Welcome back to Simply the Law. You know, I'm sitting here thinking, Gary, the damage that can be done with the things we hear about the person who sued over their pants and stories like that that's in the media. Is it a shock or a surprise to your clients that when they're injured and they come to you, all of a sudden they find themselves now in one of these so-called frivolous lawsuits?
Remember I just said they don't go there. Clients don't come to see me if they have any alternative. The last person in the world they want to do is walk into a lawyer's office. It's embarrassing. Someone says, well, put something around your neck. It's very embarrassing. My clients don't want to be in the system. They don't want to expose their private part of their lives. They don't want to be badgered by an attorney at a deposition. All they want is to try to get something back that was taken away from them. And it's an ordeal. It's a war. It's outright war. That's what it is. Let's go back, computer. I need to talk to you. Emotions. I'll talk to you a little bit about emotions. Remember, folks, and I've said it on the program before, and I'm going to say it again, emotions are crazy. There is no rational basis in an emotion.
Yes. Yes, I think the Rolling Stones had a great song, Come to My Emotional Rescue.
They will kill you. They will make you jump off of a bridge. They will make you put a gun to your head and shoot yourself. Emotions are crazy. They will get you in trouble beyond your wildest imagination. What else? They can be transferred. If you're miserable, you can transfer it, trust me. If you're happy, you can transfer it. They can be contagious. They can infect an entire group, an emotion can. That's why you see the mob mentality.
Sure.
And again, this is stuff I'm teaching attorneys when I'm talking to them in these seminars. I bet you folks didn't know this, but the tears of sadness from your eyes have an entirely different chemical makeup than tears that are caused by an irritant.
Really?
It's because emotions are transferred.
I never knew that.
Emotions. How you feel about something, and again, this is me talking to attorneys. How you feel about something will never change the facts. But how you feel about something will change your conduct and how you deal with it. And when you allow your emotions to surface in a lawsuit, they will determine your conduct in dealing with the facts.
You know, Gary, when you're talking...
And I'm telling them, you can't win unless you have control of your emotions.
I think I had more respect for the attorneys in the Casey Anthony case because I had listened to you talk before on all of these programs. And when the verdict came back, the attorney who was prosecuting came out and thanked the jury and said the jury did a wonderful job. His emotions, even though he said, I personally feel she was guilty, he had so many emotions, but he conducted himself with the utmost respect for the jury and the system, realizing they made the decision based upon the information they were given.
It's what I tell these attorneys when I'm speaking to them. I say, I'll give you an example of this. I say, you get in a lawsuit and you start getting in big fights with the defense attorney. Mm-hmm. You just get in those big fights with him. And you go to court all the time with him. You show him. You're going to show him how tough you are. You're going to show him you know the law. You're going to show him this. And you're really going to be a fighter. And then I say to him, I put up on the screen, what's going to happen to you and your client is, you guys are going to be riding around in old beat-up Volkswagens and he's going to be in a BMW. Because that's the reality of what's going to happen, of all your toughness and all your fighting that you say you're going to do. I don't care what the defense does. I put my case on. And I tell attorneys that. Do your case, do your job. But don't waste all of your time in this big battle because your client may love you because you're putting on such a great fight. But the bottom line is, the end result is, where's the money? And he gets to bill by the hour. You don't get paid a dime and your client don't get paid a dime unless you win. So don't waste your time being emotional, getting in big bunch of fights. Prepare your case and go to trial and trust the jury to take care of it. They will. That's just my advice to you. How are we doing on time?
We're out of time.
Okay.
Yeah. And I just want to end it by telling you, this guy is so absolutely right. Because when we get on a subject and I get emotional and I'm all keyed up to where I could burn your house down and everything, he'll smile and say, it could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. Time will tell. My friend, thank you so much for the lesson. Thank you so much for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. On behalf of Gary C. Johnson, I'm Keith Casebolt. We look forward to seeing you again next week, right here, same time, on Simply the Law.